lost to the Badgers on Sunday. Howard and Wisconsin head coach Greg Gard exchanged words in the handshake line before things escalated, and Howard struck a Badgers assistant coach. Smack! Big Ten said in a statement that the conference will, quote, take swift and appropriate disciplinary action when it completes this review. Acho, should Michigan consider moving on from Juwan Howard?
Consider. They have to consider moving on from Juwan Howard. They have to consider it. Now, before everybody gets all up in a tizzy, consider what I'm about to say to you.
Tizzy.
Michigan has to consider moving on from Juwan Howard, not because his offense or his action is necessarily fireable, but Michigan has to understand they are on the hook for Juwan Howard's actions. In life, especially when you're talking big business, you have to understand who and what are you responsible for.
Facts.
If Juwan Howard does, in fact, do this again, now all of a sudden people are looking at you, Michigan, as though your hiring and firing practices are negligent. People are looking at Michigan, the greater corporation, the greater entity is, wait a second, now y'all are in the wrong. If I was that Badgers coach that got hit in the face, I'll tell you this right now.
What's up?
I got a high-grade concussion. I have blurred vision, and I can't hear out my left ear for at least a year.
Ambulance chaser. Look at you.
And I am.
Oh, you.
So Michigan has to understand that they are on the hook for Juwan Howard and his behavior. Okay. But here's the real thing. Let's remove Juwan Howard from it so we can remove some of the sting from the take. Okay.
Okay.
Last year, Big Ten tournament, Juwan Howard has to be restrained by his coaching staff from getting into an altercation. Yesterday, playing Wisconsin, Juwan Howard isn't restrained. Now Juwan Howard actually connects with somebody. That's Big Ten tournament. Then we see yesterday, Juwan Howard actually makes contact. In your mind, you have to ask yourself, what would happen next? If y'all are in a relationship, yes, you at home watching the show, you're in a relationship, and you're leaving a club with your significant other, and somebody bumps into your significant other, and all of a sudden your significant other starts cussing at him, and you got to hold your significant other back. Then a week later, you're leaving the club again. Somebody bumps into your significant other, and your significant other mushes them in the face. You are going to be a little mindful that, wait a second, it is escalating.
Yes.
So the first time somebody bumped into him, I had to hold my significant other back. The next time somebody bumped into him, my significant other mushed them in the face. What might happen the next time somebody bumps into them?
Pop, pop. Oh, sorry, too much.
That is the question Michigan is on the hook for. That is the issue that Michigan has to ask itself. Should they fire Juwan Howard? In my mind, in my opinion, absolutely not. But should they consider it because of the potential ramifications if something happens again? You got to consider it, or they would be negligent not to.
Don't consider terminating Juwan Howard.
Talk to me, big dog.
He didn't start this, so this shouldn't finish him. Let's be real about this. Greg Gard started this. Now, how did it get started? Juwan Howard was in his feelings. He was in his coaching feelings. Juwan, I don't know you like that. Matter of fact, I don't know you at all, but I feel like I know you because you helped raise me. That Fab Five boy, them baggy shorts boy, did something to me. Here's the thing. When you're out there as a player, yes, okay. Guess what Wisconsin's allowed to do? They're allowed to call timeouts to let these reserves have an opportunity to go out there and play to the end of the game against that same full court press, especially when the shot clock, or getting past half court, was down to 4 seconds. Respect. I'm not mad at that. But Juwan was. But that didn't start this. Juwan was in his feelings, but he was in his feelings. Then he walked by in the mandatory box-checking handshake line. And I want to remind people, you don't have to shake hands in the handshake line. How many times I walk by cats, usually high school, Pop Warner even, that didn't shake hands? Who gives a damn? That lets me know, alert, I got to you. I got at you in your feelings if you ain't shaking my hands. But even in the pros, where we don't have mandatory handshake lines, but we have, let's say, the national anthem. You ain't got to sing. You ain't got to put your hand over your heart. Just check the box, right? So I'm still not mad at Juwan Howard in this moment, but this wouldn't it all change. You talk about escalation?
Talk to me.
I had words for you. Hey, man, I'm going to remember this. Okay. These are contentious words, okay? But that still doesn't give you the right to all of a sudden violate my physical space and physical domain. Once you grab me, oh, we've went to a different place. Now, even in this place, if I'm Juwan Howard, I don't respond. Because now you saw what happened. The kids were the adults in the room. The kids were sitting there like, what the hell are y'all doing? But Juwan Howard still didn't start it. Once he goes into the Michigan's AD and he sits there and he's like, look, this isn't your first offense, so we got a little issue. But then Juwan Howard will be let off the hook by this simple fact. He touched me. He started this. Whatever came from that, Juwan Howard putting his hands on another coach, players all of a sudden starting to fight. All of this escalation didn't come from Juwan Howard being in his coaching feelings, and it didn't come from him talking trash in the handshake line. It came from another man putting his hands on him, and that's going to get him off the hook, no termination.
I'm going to get back to that he touched me because I love that point. We will get back
Don't
there.
touch me, dog. Don't touch me, dog.
But I got to break this down for all y'all, and I think y'all know this, but if y'all don't, let me remind you. There are some professions that allow you to do certain things that other professions do not allow you to do. Let me make this plain and simple. If you are a pastor, you cheat on your wife, you will no longer be a head lead pastor. If you are a comedian and you cheat on your wife, you're likely going to get a new Netflix special. If you are a graffiti artist and you spray paint a wall, you might be able to sell that if you extract the wall. If I go out on these streets and spray paint a wall, I will likely end up in Los Angeles County Jail. If you are a bouncer and you put your hands on somebody, you're going to get a raise. But if you are a coach and you put your hands on somebody, you might get terminated. Because based on your profession, you have different punishments for your actions.
Okay.
So we have to understand what is Juwan Howard's profession and what was his action, because profession usually dictates the outcome of the punishment of the action. Now, to your beautiful point of Juwan Howard might get off the hook because he touched me.
It was beautiful.
Here's my issue, Sel. Doesn't this argument sound so MJ-ish?
Who, Michael Jordan this weekend?
No, sir.
Magic Johnson.
Your 6-year-old son.
Hey, you bringing him up in what spirit? Now, let me hear.
Feel me? Like,
oh, I know.
But Daddy, he touched me.
Oh, yeah.
Are we talking about a 50-year-old grown man who's supposed to be leading young men? Yeah. Here's the biggest issue that really nobody's paying enough attention to. If Juwan Howard puts his hands on another man, which he did, then how is he going to tell his locker room, hey, y'all don't fight. Hey, y'all play between the whistles. Hey, y'all, keep us on the court, on the court. If I see you, coach, doing this, then how you going to tell me what I can and cannot do? You've completely lost credibility within that domain.
Okay,
Juwan Howard hasn't lost credibility of his basketball acumen. He hasn't lost credibility of his NBA. He hasn't lost credibility of much of anything. But I know this much. Let you try to tell me what I can and cannot do. I'm going to be looking at you sideways. So that's the biggest issue, Sel, is like Juwan Howard at this point in time, he didn't lose his locker room, but he lost an aspect of, look, coach, you're not going to tell me how to act. And that, again, going back full circle, is why certain professions have certain issues. That's why the lead pastor can't step out. Because how are you going to get in front of a congregation preaching morality, but you're immoral? But the comedian can step out. Because a comedian can get in front of their perspective conversation because their conversation isn't about morality. A head coach's conversation with his congregation, his teammates, his locker room rather, it's all about playing fairly, playing properly, playing legally. If you nullify that with your own actions, it's almost nullified within the team.
Strong, very strong. Taking me good places, new places. First of all, I give names and numbers to when you talk about pastors and you talk about comedians. I know my pastor actually, I don't know if it was stepping out, but he got divorced. Let's just say that. And he was a good-looking dude, let's just say that. And we know who you're talking about, the comedian. I ain't gonna call him out. He ain't funny either. So here's the thing. Not that funny. Here we go. Oh, boy, Acho. You're wrong. Even though I know you gave us a strong case to make us think you're right, you're wrong. You bring MJ into it. And you know what? I had to learn from my own experiences. And I'm gonna use the AD at Michigan to prove my point. Here's a quote from the AD of Michigan. I am aware of and watched the end of our men's basketball game. There is no excuse for any of our staff or student athletes to get into a physical altercation with others regardless of instigating factors. He lying. I had to learn this one talking to my son because I finally started to hear the words that were always professed to me growing up. You shouldn't fight for any reason. I was like, but there are reasons. So let's talk about it. What one reason that MJ should fight? Got to protect himself.